All right, what's going on, everybody? I hope this video finds you well. Got a pretty cool topic here today that I think we can go over on how we can actually use the driver in more than one way and how we can use it to our advantage based on what the shot calls for. So basically, I think there's a couple ways of looking at driver. I think we should have a couple different shots personally, especially if we're a player that has a little bit more speed. So the first thing when looking at driver and we're looking at the types of shots that we want to go into is I think we do need to predicate a lot of this based on how fast we swing the club, what our ball speed potential is, how the spin rate works, and then we can kind of dictate the launch that we want to see. So the slower the speed we have, the higher we're going to want to launch it, a little bit lower spin. Now, we can take a couple players right here. If we use the PGA Tour as an example, we can take a couple different players. We can look at how they drive the golf ball. And I will always say this, I think distance is definitely a huge advantage. Speed is always going to be an advantage. So we have players like Rory McIlroy, Bryson DeChambeau, even though he's on LIV, who tee the golf ball pretty high, hit well up on it, and they maximize and they get everything out of the golf ball that they could possibly get. And I think we can take a look on the other side. We can take a look at like a Scotty Scheffler. He plays a lot of different ball flights. I think he's one of the best drivers. He's gained a lot of shots this year on the PGA Tour. I think he's number 3 in shots gained after the Travelers. I think Rory's number 2. And so, but I think they're two different styles of drivers. I think Rory tees it high, hits up on it, comes from under the plane, and maximizes launch, carry, spin, etc. I see Scotty Scheffler a lot of times. You'll see him play kind of these bullet cuts. So, not saying that you have to do it to where you're for sure you're the player that shapes all your shots, but I do think that there's certain scenarios that we can look at and how this would make this golf club more of a weapon for us, because I can tell you from me as a playing perspective is I'm not always trying to get everything out of my actual driver. A lot of times I prefer to use my driver more than I prefer to use my 3-wood. The reason being is I have a bigger surface to play with. I think it's easier to hit different types of shots with a driver than it is to hit with a 3-wood, and I think the mishits typically as well, generally a little bit better. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to take you through a couple different holes out here at Turnberry. One where I would use a placement shot, the things that I would go through, and then another one where I would tee it high and I would rip it based on what the hole calls for. So we're going to start right here with this one, and we'll go from there. So we're going to show you as well. We're going to set up TrackMan, give you some data to take a look at it. So let's start with this one. All right, so what we have right here, so this is hole 7 at Turnberry. So we can see water right. We've even got OB left. The bunkers out here are at about 280 yards. Okay, so I need to make sure that I carry this golf ball. For me, I need to make sure that I carry this at least, I would say, somewhere in the neighborhood of 240, 250 yards. I know with driver, I know I can do that pretty easily right here. So when I look at this shot right here, I don't need to hit driver as hard as I can hit it. Okay? The hole's not that long. This is more of a placement shot for me. So when I'm going into a placement shot like this, the one thing that I really like to use that's different here from how I would normally hit a drive is I access 2 things. Maybe 3 actually, I'm sorry. I access 3 things. Number 1, I access the tee height. I am going to lower the height of the tee so that I strike the golf ball lower on the face. This can add, if I mishit it a little bit, this adds a little bit of spin to it. Well, in this case right here, I don't need a lot of run out. I want it to be in the fairway, land in the fairway, stop in the fairway. I'm going to have a wedge in. Okay? What I need to make sure of is that I can carry the water. If I mishit it, the ball's not going to go way right. And I don't mind if there's a little bit of spin. So the first thing that I'm going to access right here is I'm going to access tee height. I'm going to tee it significantly lower than what I would, so that the contact point gets lower on the face, because the lower on the face, there's more mass down here. That's going to help me create a little bit of spin. Now, the next piece that I'm going to add is I want to make sure that the ball starts left. The neat thing about the driver here is if we look at gear effect, the more that I hit it in the heel, that's going to help me with start direction. That's going to help me start this golf ball a little bit more left. The other thing that gear effect does is that incorporates a spin in the opposite direction. So the ball will start more left for me, the right-handed player, and it might actually fall a little bit right. So if I pick a good enough line here, which my line here is right, the middle of those 3 bunkers, so I've still got 40 yards or so to work with, that this ball can bleed to the right. So I'm going to pick that for my starting line. So now if I catch the center of the, if I catch this off the heel of the driver, it should start just a little bit left of it. And the spin axis on the golf ball should actually move it a little bit to the right. That would be my goal right here. Okay. The next thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to grip down on the driver. I'm going to make this feel like it is a shorter golf club, so I can make a normal golf swing as opposed to trying to hit way up on the golf ball. A lot of times for this shot, we might even actually see players hit down on this golf ball 1, 2, 3 degrees, which is also going to help us produce a little bit more spin. Because again, in this scenario right here, I don't mind if the ball spins a little bit more. If I catch it in the center of the face, it's going to come out on a decent trajectory, enough that I can get my cover number, but it's not going to go far enough to where I'm going to bring the bunkers into play. So I'm not going to be taking a full cut at this as hard as I can. So when we look at this right in here, we're going to tee the ball up lower, number 1. So I'm going to tee the ball up lower than what I would normally hit it. Number 2, I'm going to grip up about 1 inch on this golf club. And number 3, my goal is going to be to hit it on the heel. Now, if we wanted to add another piece to it to make sure that the ball started left and faded for the right-handed player, is now we have our geometry here from face on. Okay, so this is low point. I might put it 1 ball in front of low point so that the golf club has the ability to start swinging more left naturally. This is not me trying to make an over-the-top cut swing. I'm trying to keep a fairly normal golf swing, control where my strike location is, so that I can let the golf club do the work to get this golf ball in play the way that I need to. So we're going to go tee height, grip down, ball is a little bit forward, and my contact point, I'm going to try and keep the contact point here a little bit more in the heel, center of the bunker, and that contact point should bleed this just a little bit right. Normal golf swing. That ball did pretty much everything that I wanted it to do, and it is right in the center of where my target line was. Ball came out much lower, but again, this for me, this is about a placement shot. Again, I think the driver is easier to place than a fairway wood is in some instances, just because of the size of the driver. So for the placement shot, there's how I would do it. Now we're going to move on to how we would rip it. All right, so here we are. We're on hole 9 now. This is a hole here, par 5. It's about 540, 550 yards. As you can see, it's a very straightaway hole. So over on the right, we got hole 1, no trouble. Over on the left, we have hole 6, the Sofer course. There's no trouble. Par 5, straightaway, no trouble. This right here, this is a scenario where I would say the player has the ability, if you want to go after it and take a risk, there's not really any disadvantage to it. There's only advantage to gain, okay? Because we're not going to hit it out of play. The further down there I get it, the shorter club I'm going to have in, par 5, that's something I can score on. So this would be a scenario where I might play a shot that is 100% all out. I really have nothing to lose because it's a pretty straightforward, pretty simple par 5. So when we go into this, here are the places that I would say that I start, that I would look for, especially from a setup standpoint, to hit the shot that we want to hit. I hope you're enjoying today's video, and if you'd like the way that I explain things and how I break things down, I would love to have you check out my online membership site, Club TS. So inside of this, you're going to have access to unlimited video lessons, group coaching calls that we do weekly, and as well, you're going to have the ability to ask me questions where I can film content for you customized. We also offer practice plans for players of all abilities. So inside of the link here, that's going to give you access to a free 14-day trial that I would love to have you check out. So thank you for watching. Now back to the video. So number one, like we talked about with the lower golf ball, we use tee height to help us out with that. It's going to be the same thing I'm going to do with driver. So I'm going to raise the height of the tee. I'm going to raise the height of the tee to give myself the ability to strike up on it more, because now I've got the ability to strike up on it more, deal off the face, something similar to what you might feel with a topspin forehand in tennis. And that's going to give me optimal launch, lower spin. I'm going to get a lot more carry out of it. So we're going to see launch angles change, I would guess, quite a bit here. We might see it go upwards of 13, 14. I would say my preference, like my speed, I'm right around 170 ball speed. I can sometimes get it a little bit more, but for me, I'm kind of looking somewhere in that 13-degree range. Occasionally, I have the ability to get it too high, just a pattern that I've had my whole life in regards to how my hands work. But this is an area right here. Golf courses are wet right now this time of year in Florida. I want to see how much I can get out of this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tee height. The next thing I'm going to do is, if I took my normal setup here, I'm going to take my stance and I'm going to widen it one step. That's going to give me the ability for low point to bottom out further back. The further back low point bottoms out, the more this golf club will hit the golf ball on the rise. Now, the other thing that we have access to, where I'm not going to treat this like a normal shot, like what we did for the lower one, is I'm going to take my spine, I'm going to go into more of a tilt. So I'm going to add probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 to 10 degrees of tilt right here. There's another thing that's going to help me hit more up on the golf ball. Now, the one thing that I think we all need to realize is the more that we hit up on the golf ball, if I do this towards you, the more that I hit up on the golf ball, you can see the more this club rises for the right-handed player, the more it's going to travel left. So we need to offset that up, sometimes with either A, swinging more into out, not my preference. My preference would be B. So like if I said I want to hit up on this 5 degrees, I'm going to shift myself probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 degrees more to the right so that I can offset the amount of up that I'd hit. Then from there, to create more speed, the place that I always try and feel as a player here is I'm trying to create more pace in my backswing. Energy starts right in the beginning. With the quicker we can get something into the golf club, the more energy that we have the ability to bring back to the golf ball. So these are my setup keys. I have my commitment. I'm going to have a little faster backswing. Okay, so we're going to set up in here. Spine tilt, ball forward, right foot's wider. And I'm about 5 degrees right of where my target line would be. Now I'm going to rehearse what my backswing tempo is. One more look, and then I'm going to rip it. And that ball could not have been hit any better right there. So this is an area right in here. I had the ability to give it a little bit more than what I would normally do, especially on the previous hole that we showed you. So I think being able to add different shot types into your bag, I think it makes you a better player. But again, these are areas that we have to practice. We have to practice different tee heights. We have to practice different setups. We need to practice different strike alignments and where we're trying to hit the golf ball on the face, because those are going to give us different results right there. So there's a couple ways of looking at it. I hope that helps you out. If you have any questions, please let me know. Appreciate you watching. See you next time. I hope you enjoyed this video here. If you haven't, please click that subscribe button. You can also click the bell right there, and that's going to notify you every time that I release a new YouTube video. Also, if you haven't, check out that last video that I did. It's right here, pinned to the screen. Thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions, any comments, please leave those below, and I will make sure I get back to each and every one of you. So, thank you again. Appreciate your support. We'll see you next time.